All right, let's dive into this guide all about making a business plan that isn't just some document you file away. One that can actually help you get funding.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about this guide is that it really emphasizes how a business plan should be the core of your strategy, not just something you do because a lender asks for it.
So it's like, it's not just your company's resume, but also its roadmap. That's a lot to put on one document.
Definitely. And the guide gets into the specifics of what lenders look for. Because, I remember when I was first starting out, I thought, oh, it's all about the numbers. But I quickly learned that there's a lot more to it than just, fancy spreadsheets.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. I remember pitching an idea to a potential investor once, and I thought my numbers were like perfect.
Yeah,
And he just kept asking about my team, my experience, even my personal credit history. I was so not expecting that.
it's true. Lenders are looking at like the risk of lending to you personally as much as the risk of lending to the business.
It's all connected. And that's where those 5 C's of credit come in, right? It's like their checklist:
Absolutely, the five C's.
capital, capacity, character, conditions, and collateral. We should break those down. They're pretty key for anyone who's hoping to actually get that loan.
For sure.
So let's start with capital. What's that all about?
So capital is really about showing you've got some skin in the game, that you're, really committed, invested in your business.
Right.
Lenders want to see that you're not just looking for a handout. They want to see you putting your own money where your mouth is, so to speak.
Okay, that makes sense. They want to see commitment, not just someone dipping a toe in. What
Yeah.
about capacity? Is that basically just a fancy way of saying, can you repay the loan?
It is, but it's more than just looking at your bank balance today. They're going to look at cash flow projections, debt to income ratios, really anything that indicates whether you can handle those loan payments on top of everything else you've got going on.
So it's like proving you can handle the loan without, sinking the ship. Makes sense. All right, so then there's character. This one always makes me a little nervous. Are they like judging my personality or something?
Not exactly your personality, but your trustworthiness and reliability,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to money. Lenders look at your credit history, references you can provide, even your business reputation if you have one. They want to see a history of responsible financial behavior.
It's like building that financial resume that shows you're good for it.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense. Now, conditions. This one always kind of throws me off a bit.
Yeah, I get it. Conditions is the one that's really kind of out of your control. It's about things like the overall economy. Like, what are the industry trends? What are the external factors that could impact your business? Even if your plan is amazing, a recession could hit, right?
So it's like acknowledging that even the best captain can't control the weather.
Exactly.
Gotcha. And finally, we've got collateral. What's that all about?
Collateral is basically something of value that you pledge as security for the loan. It could be property, inventory, equipment, anything that the lender could seize if you don't repay the loan.
So it's like a safety net for them.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
lowers their risk.
Okay, so it's kind of like saying, look, I'm confident I can repay you, but just in case, you've got this.
Right. Now remember, different lenders might emphasize these C's a little differently. A bank might be super focused on collateral, while a credit union might care more about your character and community impact.
So it's kind of like tailoring your resume for each job you apply for. Do
Exactly.
your research, know what they're looking for. All right, well, we've laid the groundwork with the 5 C's. What about the business plan itself? What are those like must-have components?
Okay, well, the guide really emphasizes that there are some core elements that pretty much all lenders are looking for, though there can be some variations. And it actually starts with something that might seem a little counterintuitive, which is writing your executive summary last.
Wait, really? The executive summary is at the beginning, though, right? Like, it's the first thing they read.
It is the first thing they read,
Yep.
which is why it has to be fantastic.
Yeah.
The guide's point is write it last because it should be the distillation of everything else in your plan. You need the whole story laid out before you can write that compelling summary.
I never thought of it that way. It's like you can't write the movie trailer until you've made the movie.
Precisely.
All right, so executive summary last. Got it. But before we even get to that, we need a business description.
All right. This is where you really lay out the nuts and bolts of how your business operates, your legal structure, mission statement, location, all that good stuff.
So they want to know if I'm a sole proprietorship working out of my basement or a corporation with, like, a fancy office.
Exactly. They want to. You've thought through those details, the nitty gritty at how it all works. And Speaking of details, market analysis is where you really got to shine. This isn't just about saying, hey, there's a market. It's about proving you really understand it.
Okay, so not just people eat food, so I'm opening a restaurant, but more like there's a lack of vegan Ethiopian food in this area, and I'm perfectly positioned to fill that gap.
Exactly. You need to showcase the opportunity, back it up with real data, show them you understand your target customer, your competition, the whole industry landscape.
Right. Lenders aren't going to be impressed by wishful thinking. They want to see that you've done your homework, that your idea isn't just based on, a hunch.
Absolutely. And on that note of doing your homework, the next section is all about your management team. Lenders want to see who's at the helm, what their experience is, how do those skills complement each other? Be upfront about any gaps you might need to fill too.
So basically, prove that you and your team, you're the A-team, ready for anything.
Exactly.
All right, sounds good. Now, once we've got our awesome team established, we got to dig into the heart of the matter, right? That product or service itself.
Yes. This is where we get to really showcase what we're bringing to the table.
What are lenders looking for here? What do they want to see?
They want more than just features. They want to understand the benefits. How's it made? How's it delivered? What makes your product stand out? Why should customers choose you?
So it's about painting a picture of how this is going to solve problems and win over customers, not just listing a bunch of specs.
You got it. And then you can't forget about how you're going to get that amazing product into the hands of those customers. That's where your marketing and sales strategy comes in.
Right. A brilliant product sitting on a shelf isn't going to impress anyone. What level of detail do we need to go into here?
They want specifics. How are you going to reach your target audience? Which channels will you use? What about pricing? Sales projections? No vague ideas here.
So show them we've thought through the whole process of acquiring customers and making money. It's about proving we have a plan to make money, not just spend it.
Exactly. And speaking of money, this brings us to, honestly, what might be the most important part of the plan from a lender's perspective. Your financial projections.
Okay, here come the numbers. What kind of financial wizardry are we talking about?
This is the backbone of your plan's credibility. Lenders want to see detailed income statements, cash flow projections, a balance sheet. And all of this has to be based on realistic assumptions that show potential for growth.
So we're talking like projecting revenue, expenses, profits, how much cash will be flowing in and out over time.
Exactly. And these numbers have to add up. They need to be based on solid research, industry benchmarks. They should demonstrate a clear understanding of your business's financial viability.
Right, because lenders don't just want to see that you'll make money, but how you'll make it and when. Now, I know we need to get deeper into some specific analyses, but I think we should save that for the next segment.
I agree. There's a lot more to unpack when it comes to showing lenders that you've got a path to profitability.
Stay tuned, folks, because next time we're getting into the nitty-gritty of break-even analysis, key metrics, all those crucial details that can make or break your loan application. All right, welcome back. Last time we left off talking about those super important financial projections. And I know that's where things can get a little scary for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, numbers can be intimidating, but they're really just a way to tell your story, your business story, in a way that lenders understand.
Right.
And there are a couple of key analyses that this guide really highlights. Analyses that can make your plan much more solid and convincing to those lenders.
Okay, let's unpack that. What are we talking about here?
Well, first up, we've got the break-even analysis. You've probably heard this term before, but it's so important that it's worth revisiting.
Yeah, break-even is basically the point where your revenue covers all your costs and you actually start making a profit, right? Like you're not in the red anymore.
Exactly. And lenders want to see a clear path to that point. They're essentially asking, how many widgets do you need to sell before you're in the black and can start repaying this loan?
So it's not just about projecting those big revenue numbers, but showing a realistic understanding of your costs and how long it'll take to actually become profitable.
Precisely. And then beyond the break-even point, lenders are going to want to see some other key financial metrics. Think of it as a financial checkup that gives them a deeper dive into your business's health.
Okay. What kind of metrics are we talking about here? Is this where it gets like super complicated?
Not necessarily. A lot of these are expressed as ratios, which can sound a little intimidating, but they're actually pretty straightforward. Like, for example, they'll look at profitability ratios, which basically tells them how efficiently does your business generate profit from sales.
So it's not just about how much you're making, but how much you're making relative to like your expenses.
Exactly. They're also going to be interested in things like liquidity ratios, which measure, your ability to meet your short-term obligations. Can you pay your bills, keep the lights on?
That's kind of important.
It is.
Yeah, it makes sense they'd want to see that you're not always, scrambling to make payroll.
Right. And then there are also efficiency ratios, which look at how well you're using your assets to generate revenue.
Okay.
Are you managing inventory well?
Mhm.
Are you collecting those receivables quickly?
So it's all about showing them that you're not just making money, but you're doing it in a smart, efficient way.
Right. And you remember that appendix we talked about earlier?
Right.
That's really where these key financial metrics can really shine.
Oh, right.
You can include detailed charts, graphs, calculations that really back up all your projections and show that that you get it when it comes to finances.
Yeah, the appendix is like our supporting evidence. It's where we show our work, so to speak.
Exactly.